Hello there. Today I endured Novocaine, and now I want to warn you about it. Novocaine is a comedy action thriller about a guy who can't feel pain, trying to rescue a hostage taken during a bank robbery. Lars Jacobson wrote the screenplay, and Robert Olson and Dan Burke co-directed the film. It stars Jack Quaid, Amber Midthunder, and Ray Nicholson. Alright, I'm going to be upfront and tell you that I hated this film. I struggled to get through it and found myself bored to tears with the story. The film does have good points, but the writing killed any interest I had in seeing them. If I seem a little biased against this film, it's because I totally am. Starting with the film's good points. The cast does what they can with this mess, the visual journey is filled with brutal violence and little bits of dark comedy, and the soundtrack does an okay job filling out the background. The cast are called to play stereotypical characters and don't get much to do beyond reactions and one-liners. A lot of what they're doing is reacting to Jack Quaid's character who doesn't feel pain. They give off disgusted looks and horrified expressions as he endures insane amounts of injury. They also get some pun-filled lines to go along with them to try and lighten the mood. They deliver their lines well and do a solid job of the reactions they give. There's also a few stereotypical villains that are okay, but they aren't given any time to shine. At the center of the film is Jack Quaid. He plays Nathan Kane, an assistant bank manager who doesn't feel pain. When his co-worker/love interest is kidnapped during a robbery, Nathan decides to be a hero and chase down the killers. Quaid plays the character in his usual adorkable manner. He's polite and charming, and oh so sorry for all the violence he's about to commit. Quaid does a good job of the emotional journey and shows off decent chemistry with Amber Midthunder. Visually, the film is well done and easy to follow. It takes place in a few basic locations and mostly delivers fight scenes and gory scenes of Nathan treating his injuries. There's also a few visual gags with a morbid sense of humor. For standout moments, there's lots of visually stunning choreography during the fight sequences and a ton of brutal injuries. The fights are fist fights between Nathan and the three criminals he's hunting down. He takes everything and anything in his environment and uses it to attack them. They fight back with incredible ferocity, and we end up with a bunch of gruesome injuries like Nathan getting impaled, constantly having his bones broken, and even severe oil burns. The injuries have a ton of impact and look disgusting. Sound-wise, the film has one or two original songs and a ton of scored orchestrals. The orchestrals do a solid job of adding emotion and tension into the scenery and follow the story fairly precisely. The tracks are generic and somewhat forgettable, but they do a good job in the moment. On the negative side of things, the story is absolute nonsense that ruins its own plot. They start off by introducing us to the protagonist and his love interest and telling us about his exotic condition. He doesn't feel pain. Then the inciting incident happens and our hero runs off to save his damsel in distress. The journey sees him fight his way through three criminals and a tattoo artist while trying to save the girl. Along the way, there's a bit of comedy, a lot of gore, and a teeny tiny thread of a love story. The comedy comes from seeing people's reactions to Nathan's injuries and condition. It's a one-note joke that the film drums on for the full hour and a half. The gore comes from the injuries and involves every gruesome injury you can think of. Slices, dismemberment, stabbing, dislocation, broken bones, severe burns, etc. There's so much gore here that you'd be forgiven for mistaking it for a horror film. The love story is where the film's real problems lie. It's the heart of the film, and yet it doesn't work at all. The hero is only on this journey because he wants to save the woman. The problem is that he's only been on one date with her and barely knows her. They also reveal something about her very early on in the film that ruins any hope of a fairy tale ending. So essentially, the film turns into watching this guy torture himself for no reason. There is a lot going on, but it's hard to get invested when the best outcome is this guy getting together with a hyper-toxic partner. Personally, I went into this film blind. I might have seen a trailer once, but it was months ago and I don't remember any of it. Trying to sit through this was like pulling teeth. I didn't understand the character or his motivations, and I couldn't stand the writing. It was like watching a superhero film where they take endless damage and just keep trucking on, but without any of the motivational heroic stuff. Like at one point, this guy's femoral artery gets skewered by an arrow, and he just yanks that shit out of his leg like whatever. Then he puts a little gauze on it and ta-da, it's fine. If Nathan was living in the real world, he would have been woozy from blood loss after his very first encounter. Thankfully, the writers have never seen an injury before and think humans have endless amounts in reserve. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 5 out of 10. It's fine from a technical standpoint, and the cast does a decent job. It's just not the kind of thing I'd recommend to people, nor would I watch it again. Remember though, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye bye.